Good morning and welcome to today's assembly. Today is an important day across the whole world as it is World Environment Day. World Environment Day is the United Nations Day for encouraging worldwide awareness for protecting our environment. It has been celebrated every year since 1974 on the 5th of June. Each year there's a different theme hosted by a different country to help people think about how they can create positive change in their environment. This year's host country is Colombia, working in partnership with Germany. However, this year is a bit different. Lots of people are going to be celebrating online. This year's theme is Time for Nature, focused on biodiversity. Biodiversity comes from two words, bio, which is short for biology, living things, and diversity, which means a variety. So biodiversity means the mixture of all the life that is on Earth. It includes all species, habitats and ecosystems, including humans, which exist on our planet. So biodiversity means all life on Earth, from humans to huge elephants to tiny little mini beasts. Think about how many species you know of animals and plants. If every known species on Earth were a leaf on a tree, the tree would have almost 2 million leaves. Humans are just one leaf on that tree. Habitats must be protected so that the species can live in them. Species must be protected so they do not become endangered or go extinct. Ecosystems must not be disturbed or they will not work together properly. So biodiversity is so important because all life on Earth is interconnected. Without biodiversity, there would be an imbalance across the ecosystems, habitats and species. Changing or removing just one element of that web of connections affects the entire life system and can have negative consequences. Human activities have significantly changed 3/4 of our Earth's land surface and 2/3 of ocean areas. So thinking back to our work that we've done on climate change and our No Electricity Day, what ways do you know that humans have changed our planet in a negative way? I'm sure that you've thought of many ways that humans have sadly changed our planet in a negative way. Here are just a few that I found out about. 13 million hectares of forest are destroyed every year. That's an area about the size of England every single year. Rainforests cover just 2% of the Earth and yet are home to 50% of all plant and animal species. Many trees in the rainforest are cut down to grow palm oil. Unless changes are made, almost 1 in 6 species could face extinction due to climate change destroying their habitats. Experts believe that the Arctic sea ice is melting at a shocking rate, 9% per decade. There are more than 5 trillion pieces of plastic in our oceans. This plastic ends up in the food chain as animals mistake plastic for food. 1/3 of our global food supply is pollinated by bees. Bees are under threat from insecticides and herbicides. And to end on a fact, did you know that using 100% recycled paper could save approximately 20 trees for every tonne of paper used? When you hear facts like that about climate change, it can shock us and make us want to help. But sometimes we feel like, what can I do to help? There's only one of me and the world is so big. So I thought we would read a story today about someone who felt exactly the same as that, and she decided that she needed to do something about it. Her name is Wangari Maathai. Wangari's Trees of Peace, a true story from Africa, by Jeanette Winter. Wangari lives under an umbrella of green trees, in the shadow of Mount Kenya in Africa. She watches the birds in the forest where she and her mother go to gather firewood for cooking. And she helps harvest the sweet potatoes, sugarcane and maize from the rich soil. Wangari shines in school, and when she grows tall like the trees in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America. 6 years later, her studies over, Wangari returns to her Kenya home and sees a change. What has happened, she wonders. Where are all the trees? Wangari sees women bent from hauling firewood, miles and miles from home. She sees barren land where no crops grow. And where are the birds? Thousands of trees have been cut down to make room for buildings, but no one planted new trees to take their place. Will all of Kenya become a desert, she wonders, as her tears fall. Wangari thinks about the barren land. I can replace some of the lost trees here in my own backyard, one tree at a time. She starts by planting 9 seedlings. Watching the seedlings take root gives Wangari the idea to plant more, to start a farm for baby trees, a nursery. In an open space, she plants row after row of the tiny trees. Next, Wangari convinces the village woman that planting trees is a good thing. She gives each one a seedling. Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see. We are planting the seeds of hope. The women spread out over the village, planting tiny trees in long rows, like a green belt stretching over the land. The government men laugh. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained foresters to plant trees. The women ignore the laughter and keep planting. Wangari pays them a small amount for each seedling still living after 3 months, their first earnings ever. Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. Soon, other women in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too. But the cutting continues. Wangari stands tall as an oak to protect the old trees still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower. But the government men disagree. Wangari blocks their way, so they hit her with clubs. They call her a troublemaker and put her in jail. And still she stands tall. Right is right, even if you're alone. But Wangari is not alone. Talk of the trees spreads all over Africa, like ripples in Lake Victoria. More women hear the talk and plant even more seedlings in longer and longer rows. The seedlings take root and grow tall, until there are over 30 million trees where there were none. The umbrella of green in Kenya returns. Women walk tall, their backs straight, for now they can gather firewood closer to home. The land is no longer barren. Sweet potatoes, sugarcane and maize grow again in the rich red earth. The whole world hears of Wangari's trees and of her army of women who planted them. And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you would see the millions of trees growing below you. And the green Wangari brought back to Africa. So as you've just heard in the story, Wangari was surrounded by trees as a young girl in Kenya. But then when she got older and returned from school, she saw the trees being cut down. She was afraid that soon all the forests would be destroyed, so she decided to plant those 9 seedlings. She actually planted those 9 seedlings in her back garden on World Environment Day in 1977, and on that day in Kenya started a movement called the Green Peace Movement. As the seeds grew, so did her plans. She enlisted local women to help her plant more indigenous trees. And by 2004, 30,000 trees had been planted. 6,000 plant nurseries existed in Kenya. The income of 80,000 people had been increased, and the Green Peace Movement had spread to 30 African countries and beyond. In 2004, Wangari was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize because of her contribution to world peace through the Green Peace Movement. And did you know that in African tradition, a tree is actually a symbol of peace? I am sure that you will agree that this one woman is a shining example of just how one person with passion, vision and determination can inspire great change. So we've just heard how one person really can make a difference. So what can you do to help? There are lots of ways that we can all help in little ways. One of them is to turn off the taps. You wouldn't flush the toilet the whole time you were on it, would you? But some people leave the tap running while they're cleaning their teeth, which could waste 35,000 litres of water per family per year. Be switched on, switch off. I'm sure you've already turned the lights off when you leave a room, but have you noticed those other little lights that continue to glow in the dark? The tiny red or green ones on your TV, computer or Xbox? Well, those standby lights show that energy is still being used. So switch off all your gadgets at the mains. It could cut electricity in your home by up to 10%. The third one, don't be car crazy. Sometimes car journeys are unavoidable, like when you've got a massive supermarket shop to do or the whole family goes to visit grandma. But are all of them really necessary? Walking, cycling and taking public transport are much better ways to help the planet, especially when you think that for a double-decker bus carries the same number of people as 20 cars. You could take your own bag when you go shopping. Did you know that a single plastic bag can take up to 500 years to fully disintegrate in landfill? And that about 1 trillion bags are used every year worldwide. Next time you hit the shops, take a reusable canvas bag with you instead. Simple. From recycling to reusing bits, to planting trees, growing your own vegetables, even making a bird feeder out of a toilet roll, if you look online. There are lots of ways that you can help, and I'm sure you can think of lots more that I've not mentioned here. I'm going to finish with a quote from Wangari Maathai that she said at her acceptance speech when she received her Nobel Peace Prize. She said, "We are called to assist the earth to heal her wounds and in the process heal our own. Indeed, to embrace the whole creation in all its diversity, beauty and wonder." So think about it on this World Environment Day. What can you do to heal the earth a bit and have a positive change on our earth?